The United States Constitution is 237 years old, but the document it plagiarizes is over 800 years old. The Great Law of Peace is the founding constitution of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The Great Law of Peace united 5 indigenous nations who did not speak the same language under a shared constitutional law. On the 22nd of August, 1142, the sky above Ganondagan went dark. Ganondagan is here in upstate New York. The 22nd of August 1142 is the date that the Haudenosaunee Confederacy itself traces its founding. The Great Law of Peace came into existence because the 5 nations, Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, had been locked in cycles of warfare for generations. A prophet, known as the Great Peacemaker, travelled among them with a single proposition: replace blood feuds with a law. The Onondaga leader, Tadadoho, was the last to agree. When he did, the 5 nations uprooted a white pine tree. They threw their weapons into the hole beneath and replanted the tree. The Tree of Great Peace became the symbol of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy still exists today, and the Tree of Great Peace is still their logo. It still governs itself under its own law. The Great Law of Peace has 117 articles. It includes procedures for selecting leaders, for removing them, for making collective decisions, for managing collective land, and for planning for the future. This constitution existed long before any European nation set sail. It gives women governance authority, and it gives citizens the right to convene their own councils. The United States Constitution was ratified in 1788. The chain of documented contact between the Founding Fathers and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy runs through Benjamin Franklin's printing press. He printed all of the treaty minutes, and he produced the largest English language archive on the Haudenosaunee political system at this time. For over 2 decades, he sat in on meetings and listened to Indigenous nations describe their confederacy, only to turn around in 1751, call them ignorant savages, and write, "It would be a very strange thing if 6 nations of ignorant savages should be capable of forming a scheme for such a union, and be able to execute it in such a manner that it has subsisted ages and appears indissoluble, and yet that a like union should be impracticable for 10 or dozen English colonies, to whom it is more necessary and must be more advantageous, and who cannot be supposed to want an equal understanding of their interests." In plain terms, look at these people who I call ignorant savages. They have been able to build a union that has lasted an age and cannot be broken. We English colonists, who are more civilized and smarter than them, we need a union more. We would benefit more. This was addressed to other colonists. He's basically saying, you lot think you're smarter and more civilized than the Indians, so stop waiting for London to organize you. Copy the union idea and let's do it ourselves. Look at what the Great Law of Peace actually says. Articles 1 and 2 state that this is a federal union of distinct nations. First, it says, all the affairs of the 5 nations shall be transacted at this place before you. If any man or nation outside the 5 nations shall obey the laws of great peace, they shall be welcomed to take shelter beneath the tree. The Confederacy has one shared council for shared business, but every nation governs themselves, and the door is open to any nation or anyone who agrees to live by the Great Law. Articles 9 to 11 state that the Confederacy has 2 deliberating bodies with a 3rd that arbitrates. It says, the first question shall be passed upon by the Mohawk and Seneca lords. Then it shall be discussed and passed by the Oneida and Cayuga lords. Their decisions shall then be referred to the Onondaga lords. This is the structure for decision making. 2 groups debate separately and must agree. If they agree, the firekeepers confirm it. If they disagree, the firekeepers break the tie. It means that no one body can force through a decision alone. Article 10 also stipulates that everyone must agree before anything can move forward. The Onondaga Nation calls this one mind. A decision that doesn't hold everyone is not a decision. Having a majority is not enough. You have to keep talking until everyone is with you. This is an inversion of the United States political system. The US system is adversarial by design. The United States frames majority rule as the definition of democratic. The US Senate has 100 senators. Each represents millions of people. To pass a law, you need 51 of them to say yes. When a politician brings a law to the Senate in the current system, rather than feeling like they need to secure alignment with all 100 senators, they go into it thinking they need to win 51. These are two completely different ideas about what the government is for. One comes in search of agreement. The other is a competition for control. The Great Law runs on an entirely different logic. You are not trying to win anything. You are trying to find a position that everyone can get behind. Rather than working to defeat an opponent, you have to start with what people all already agree on. The Great Law says 49 objections are not a number to beat. They are conversations you have yet to finish. The practical consequence is that the Great Law cannot produce the kind of legislation that the US produces constantly. Laws that pass on party lines and then get reversed 4 years later. The result of this constitutional structure is that US political culture treats debate as combat. You have your side and your opponent has their side, and you are fighting to win control of the country. This is inherently colonial logic. There is actually a term for this. It's called pork barrel politics. This is when a politician trades public money for political support. In 2024, the US Congress passed 8,222 earmarks, targeted spending attached to legislation to buy votes. That cost the taxpayer $22.7 billion. The Citizens Against Government Waste did a report on this, and they quote a Democratic leader using the phrase legalized bribery to describe the process of trading earmarks for votes on a government shutdown deal. Under the Great Law, that kind of behaviour has no function. The Haudenosaunee model treats debate as a search. You have a position, you explain it, you listen to why others cannot accept it, and you look for any common ground underneath where all of you can stand. Under the Great Law, there is nothing to buy, because if somebody objects, you have to address their objection. They're not your enemy because they objected. You actually have to address the objection on its merits, not the person who is objecting. I'm running out of time. US constitutional history is very, very dense. In the next video, I'm going to talk about my favourite articles of the Great Law, the ones that give the clan mothers their authority. As I produce these videos, I am putting the primary sources into my Discord. Here is the link to the Discord if you would like to join us. And if you are able to support my work, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/AliMacForever.